Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for tuning into our podcast. It's about payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll industry or a seasoned vet, this is the podcast for you.
All right, welcome back, folks. A great episode. Today, we're going to talk about moving from mid level to your management positions. And Walt
Yeah.
found a great quote for us, and it says, "You just don't wake up butterfly. Growth is a process."
Yep.
What did that quote mean to you? Like, why did that catch?
For me, it meant something in regards to my career path and like how I've grown and like starting off as a specialist, a junior processor, especially in the corporate sector. The military itself was a different animal, but actually coming back and being a civilian and working myself up through the ranks and like the time it took and having to be patient and catching those losses and
Yep.
everything that's happened to a lot of us in this payroll industry, that kind of resonated with me. It's just like, hey, it's not going to happen overnight. Just keep at it and you'll see growth in your own career and in yourself.
Yep. That's great. Yeah, I hear you, man. And for me, it's always I feel like growth is like that quote out of Ray Diallo's book where it was like perfectionism is a lifelong process. It's a journey to
Yeah.
try to achieve this. This may not be something you ever achieve. It's just about growing. What we want to share with you today is what you need when you're ready to go to management, the type of skills that you need. You got to give them some grace. As
Yeah.
Walter teaches
Yeah.
us very well on this series and on our podcast, he is someone that really understands how to give someone grace, and
Hmm.
he's been teaching me along in our path how to do that as well. And I'm grateful for him for that because he complements my hard skills and vice versa, and we're a great team because of that. So what are some of the traits that you need going into this management role? You need to have great decision making skills, right?
Yes.
In payroll, there could be a formula because there are a lot of decisions that we have to make that are really based on data. Don't forget that part. Make sure you're factoring in the data to your decision making because it's not always a gut thing. The people
Yeah.
part may be a gut feeling, but the process is the process. Don't forget to factor in that you still have to lean on the process and the data, but also keep in mind that if you're running a team now, everybody has different characteristics, different personalities, what motivates people differently, and that's where you fold the soft skills in and use your gut to help you with that because your team, so that if someone comes in, they may be having a bad day, so
Mm.
you want to give them some grace for that. What else? Commitment to self-improvement, right? We always say in this podcast, invest in yourself. Yes, absolutely, your company should be able to sponsor a lot of education because it's only to their benefit, but if you're in a small company that maybe doesn't have a big budget, you may need to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
Another big characteristics, being transparent,
Yeah.
right? We've also been learning this whole concept of radical transparency, and it's absolutely worked for us because it's a lot easier to deal and build relationships on transparency because then people can really rely, like, look, yeah, they're straight shooters. When somebody says you're a straight shooter, that means you're very transparent. I always relate it back to integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity
Yes.
is being the same person no matter around. And that to me is being transparent. Transparency is absolutely important, not only in life, but definitely in payroll and in business. We got commitment to reaching our goals and setting goals up for not only yourself, but also your team, because now you're the manager. You may not be processing a lot, but if you're not processing, you have to keep track of where your team is. Are they learning? Are they growing? Push them, give them tools and resources to keep learning and growing. Another great goal is communication. And it's big in today's world because we have email, and we've talked about it on the show before. We got email, we got
Yeah.
text messages, we got chats and different. Oh, do you use Slack? Do you
Yeah.
use that chat? This chat? Get me on that
Yeah.
chat. And our customers always want to try to communicate to us in those methods, and we have to be ones that regulate it. And you want to be able to speak through email and your interpersonal skills, and you have to be able to manage up, down and sideways, because now as a manager or a middle manager, now you may be reporting to some VPs and directors or CFOs and COOs, and they're relying on you to teach them from a subject expert point of view. And those are your stakeholders. Those are the folks who are going to make change happen for you. Your business case is to them very well. And whether it be through data or writing emails or just providing different types of reports, or the combination of all of it, is really what it comes down to. And you got to manage up. So manage
Yes.
down. It's easy to manage. It's not actually easy to manage your team, but it's obvious that you have to manage your team. You don't always realize, hey, you might have to manage your partners. You may have to manage your superiors, because again, they rely on you to be the subject matter expert.
Exactly. Yep.
For leadership is Jim Collins. He writes a lot of management books, and one of the concepts he has is 5 leaders, understanding the importance of putting people first and strategy second.
Nice.
And that is key, because me and Walt took a leadership class together, and the first thing that guy said was, now you're a manager, now you have 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You have your whatever you're managing process wise, and you have the people aspect added onto it. And that's a whole different skill set, right? It's not managing payroll. It's very different to manage a person. So you really want to do some research, definitely look up Jim Collins. So it's really good to keep those leadership skills sharpened. Absolutely, man. At this point, you want to be focused. You want to be focused on your process, focus on your people, but also solution focused. Right? The
Say that
best.
again.
You want to say, hey, here's a couple of options, here's the outcomes, here's the impact, all that you know can share. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest things is understanding your business, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Because as a payroll person, so you're just doing payroll, and for a lot of the times the motions are the same pretty much in every company.
Yeah.
But when you get to the manager level and you're working with your C-suite or your leadership team, they really need you to understand what the business is, so
Yeah.
that you understand how to present the solutions that you have.
Mhm. Yes.
And
Yes.
you want to be sensitive to that. What's the goal? Because you have to be able to fold that into your strategy. So knowing your business is very important. Payroll is always attached to that support center and may not even see the final product of the people we serve. So I urge you to go out, if you have locations or whatever it is, try to immerse yourself into the business with permission, of course. So not only are you now understanding your business better, you're understanding better how you can solve for problems in the field. What position do you need to play in that manager role for your organization? And I'll end it off with politics. And we've talked about politics in a prior episode. And like we say, with politics, either you play or you get played.
Yes.
And again, I made the mistake going into it thinking, oh, I'm not going to play this game, so I'm not going to be affected. And I was very wrong. And I've lost opportunities, and I wasn't successful in opportunities in different positions where I didn't understand how the politics is going to play in.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, as you grow in the ladder, politics is absolutely a part of it. And again, the best thing that we can tell you is either you play or you get played. So go
Yes,
out
sir.
there and teach yourself how to deal with that. And I'll pass it off to Walt, and Walt's going to take us through some of the other pieces that we need.
Yes, thank you for that, Brian. Thank you for telling us about those soft skills and characteristics that a manager in the payroll profession should have. But not even the payroll profession, just the manager in general
Yep.
should have these soft skills.
Agreed.
So I'm just gonna go over some of the different challenges a manager may face when they get to that next level. Something that my mom always says: the preacher that she is, new levels equal new devils, right?
Absolutely.
So
Amen.
as you get promoted and you excel in your career, you're going to have new challenges, stuff that pushes you. It's not anything that you can't overcome, but stuff that's going to push you and really just test your mettle in some cases. So you got to be ready for some of
Yep.
those challenges. And like in no particular order, I'm going to go through some of these, finishing off of what Brian was talking about with office politics. You got to navigate office politics as a manager. That's something that you're going to experience, especially in the corporate sector.
Absolutely.
You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? So there may be other sectors that may not be such a big deal, but a lot of different corporate sectors, it's going to happen like that, unfortunately, because that's just how it is.
Yep.
One of the big things is managing different employee personality types. So you got those people, they're great at their job, but they're not so personable. They're a little abrasive. They're rough around the edges or whatever, however you want to call it. They're different than your other employees, but you have to be able to manage your employees. And in some ways, you got to be able to manage them indifferently, but then know how to handle different personality types as well. I know a lot of companies have done those personality tests. Some companies agree with them, some don't. But if your company has done one of those, it can help you navigate like how to deal with your employees. Some employees receive criticism, hey, you're being a little tough love, a little stern with them and challenging them. Others, you need to just like handhold a little bit and guide them along as they're growing. So it just depends on the different type of employee personality types that you have that you
Yep.
need to. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the next one, keeping your poise in those tense moments.
Tough.
I
That's
wish,
tough.
yeah, I wish that some of these things are stuff that really aren't talked about. There are some seminars and courses like Brian mentioned earlier, but some of these things like keeping your poise in a tough situation. Say somebody is yelling at you or getting loud in a meeting. And, there's different departments there, and the person in ops is like coming at you or whatever, and they're having a bad day, and you want to go in, but you can't. You have to learn to keep your poise. I'm not saying to take verbal assaults or anything like that. You can challenge someone, but you need to be able to have that emotional intelligence. But this is where that emotional intelligence chimes in. It's just like, I know I'm upset. I'm feeling upset too, but I'm going to use my emotional intelligence in this situation because it's going to happen. You're going to run into those tense moments, those crucial conversations.
There we go.
They're going to come up, and it's gonna be, you're gonna have to debate some things, like saying, no, we need to process it this way, you need to do it that way, we need this to be more efficient. You're not always gonna have those agreeable moments, even in your own department, let alone other
Yep.
departments in your company. So
Yeah.
remember to
And
keep that poise. Go ahead.
and the better you can keep that poise, the better off you are. The more you shine.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. Another thing, this is something that I struggle with, is delegating and having that doer mindset. Now, when I say doer mindset, I'm not talking about like, hey, I'm gonna get the job done. What I mean is being a manager and doing the work of your peers, all your
Mm-hmm.
subordinates, your
Mm-hmm.
report twos. Like you'll say, oh, don't worry about it, I got it, I'll do it.
Nope.
You have to learn how to delegate because you're gonna find that the work in some situations are gonna be overwhelming at times. Say it's year end and most of you got a week where it's busy, it's a holiday week, and you got three cycles on the 1 week, and this and that and this and that, and you got a person short. You can't do it all. You shouldn't try to do it all. You need to be able to delegate and hand out some of those tasks, because when you delegate and you give some of your peers or some of your report twos, you give them some of those duties, that's going to help them grow. That's going to
Absolutely.
give them information to say, hey, I'm able to do this. Brian and I, what I picked up from Brian is that I want to train my employees to be able to take my seat, to be able to do the job. Like, God forbid something happens to me, they can sit in this chair and do the job, and the ship will keep afloat.
Yep.
So the next thing is holding others accountable. So this is holding your peers accountable, holding your team accountable, holding people in other departments accountable for what they should be doing. No, you're not a jerk. You're not mean
That's right.
because you do it. And some people, I've seen them. I've talked to some of my friends in the industry, and they've had a struggle in this area because they were like, "Oh, I don't want to seem like I'm mean." You're
Yep.
not mean. You know,
Yep.
and like you don't have to go to someone and say and yell at them and scream expletives at them and everything like that to hold somebody accountable.
That's right.
You don't have to do that. It's you
Keep
can
your
go.
poise.
Yeah, you can keep your poise in those situations. So you're
Yep.
not mean because you do it. It's a part of being a manager. It's holding others and ourselves accountable. So the next thing is asking for help and asking questions. No matter how far you get in this industry, no matter what your title is, you're still going to need help.
Absolutely.
You're still going to have questions, and you should ask questions. You should be analytical in some ways and say, okay, hey, is that the best way? Is that the best? Like Brian was saying, be those subject matter experts. And if you know something could be a little bit better, you can put it out there and say,
Yep.
like, hey, in my experience, I know that this is happening. This is going to have this impact. Just want you guys to know. You know what I'm saying? You need to put those things out there and ask those questions, make those statements, ask for help if you need it, because you're going to burn out.
Yep.
You're going to burn out. And once that burnout comes, guess what you're going to start happening, which is the next topic. You're going to start losing
focus. Yep. No person is an island. We need help, folks.
Yes.
We got to do this
We
together.
need help. And once you start losing focus, that's what they call being in the weeds.
Mhm.
The weeds, and you're just like, man, I can't see my shoelaces for my
Yep.
shirt. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? That's how deep I'm in this stuff. You got to be able to maintain that focus. You got to be able to, again, ask for help. And
You get caught up in
know,
those little things, so many little things sometimes, right? We're like,
Yeah.
we get caught in, oh, I'm doing an audit. How long is the audit taking? Oh, 5 days. That's
Yep.
getting caught in the weeds.
Yes.
When you're doing something that, if you're a manager and you're doing the task that maybe one of your teammates should be doing, or help is should be a collaborative function,
Mhm.
man, you're in the weeds. So yes, don't lose focus. Get out of the weeds.
Get out of those weeds. The next thing, and this is part of, ties into what was mentioned earlier when we were talking about the traits, managing your peer relationships. This could be a challenge.
Absolutely.
This could be a challenge because you can fold this one into holding others accountable and keeping your in tense moments and managing
No, it all goes together.
all those things.
For sure.
Those peer relationships are important, are essential. I've had those moments, those tense moments with someone else in HR benefits, and like, no, payroll should do it. No, benefits needs to do it. No, payroll should do it. Like, have those moments where it's just, I'm about tired of you. I'm about tired of you. But you still have to keep your poise and have that professional relationship with this person. You both, or how many other people are involved, need to be able to do your job effectively, no matter if you don't like this person, because you're going to run into some people at some companies. You and this person may not mesh. And that's okay. You should still be able to have that professionalism to still manage your peer relationships and still get your job done, even if you don't necessarily agree with how this person operates.
That's right.
And then the next thing is like staying motivated. Like sometimes you being lost, losing that focus and feeling overwhelmed. You thought something was going to happen and they promised it as far as like the change in the process, and then it fell through. And now you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm motivated. I've seen this so many times for people who had just become managers, Brian, and they get deflated and defeated because that thing, like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make change. Like we said with that quote earlier, like, you just don't wake up and you're that butterfly.
Yep.
Growth is a process. Like, it's still gonna be some things you gotta wade through, some office politics you gotta go through, but you gotta remember to get your self-care. You gotta remember to recharge. You gotta remember to have some fun in there. Whether that's a team lunch, whether that's whatever, like doing what we did with our team at that company we were at, Brian. We met up on the weekend. Yeah, on the weekend, had a BBQ, had a great time. And it was team building. It was like, hey,
team building.
Let's recharge. Let's get this focus again. Let's get motivated. And it's all about something that you started to say recently, that you say you thrive in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Like thriving in chaos, like saying, hey, no matter what, I'm not going to be dissuaded. I'm going to stay focused. I'm going to hold on to the rope. I'm not letting go. We're going to stay the course.
Something my daughter gave me recently was a book, 7 Spiritual Success, the 7 Habits of Spiritual, Deepak Chopra. A very short read. I'm pretty much done with it, but I want to read it again because he drops all these gems. And we have been talking about thriving in chaos lately and how that affects and the impact of that. And in this book, he said, he justified it and said, as humans, we really have to be okay with the uncertainty of things. And that's what looks chaotic to people, because it's uncertain. Things aren't defined. There isn't a goal. There isn't a promise of something. It's all uncertain. And that is really life. Life is just thriving in uncertainty. and making the best of where you're at and thriving in that chaos. So that really hit home for me. That was another one I thought about. Motivation is the shower. We need it every day.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah,
We
man.
really do. And then the last thing is timelines, is managing and meeting your timelines. I know that's sounds
Yes.
simplistic. I know that even as a junior, a payroll processor or a payroll professional, you need to be able to manage your time. But as a manager, you need to do that for yourself
And
and
your team.
others.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It goes
Yep.
to that's the next level. That's that
Yep.
new devil. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
That's
Like
right.
that's that next challenge. Is okay, hey, I have my own schedule. I have my own meetings. I have this. I have that. We have projects due, and I need to be. You need to be able to delegate effectively. You need to be able to make sure that your team is meeting their timelines as
Yep.
well, and that is training them and making sure you have the right team
Yeah,
in
for
place.
sure.
Because a good payroll processor, you can leave them to function on their own, and payroll will get done.
Yep.
But some of the projects and stuff like that, you may have to manage. Like what those implementations come, you're implementing a new system, you're
Mhm.
implementing a third party this, third party
Mhm.
that,
And you're processing still,
yes, and you're
right?
doing that. Like
Payroll never stops. So
yes, you have to manage and meet those timelines very well. And those are just some of the main challenges that you're going to have. There's plenty more that you're going to go through and experience in different scenarios, but those are some of the 10 main ones that you're going to experience.
oh yeah, if you guys focus on what we've just shared just as a starting point, you got plenty of tools right here to build on.
Go check them out. It's going to be great.
Thank you for joining us today on our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and William Duncan. And until the next time, folks, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.